words can read. Hello everybody, today I am going to be bringing with you my favourite books of 2020. First of all, I apologise for sounding and looking a little bit rough. Unfortunately, I have been ill since Tuesday and I'm going into the year of 2021 ill, unfortunately. I did have a COVID test, just want to say that. I had a COVID test on the Tuesday and I got my results literally this morning of the 1st of January saying that they were negative. So what I have is just the, you know, lovely cold flu that goes on during the winter. And obviously it didn't help with when I was upset with Cookie's death. That sort of lowered my immune system. So yeah, today I am here, I'm sat in the lounge. I haven't taken down any Christmas decorations yet. I'm so like, I feel so like crap basically. I've taken like my Christmas clothes out of the closet, like the t-shirt and my jumpers, and then I'm like, oh, the socks will come out when I can find them or when they'll be washed or whatever. There's like 3 pairs of socks somewhere, Christmas socks. And then all I've got to do in here is just like take all the tinsel down, take all the Christmas trees down, and just put everything together so that when I next go off to my nan's I can just like drop it all off there. I might like drop off a couple of stuff as well, but I'm not really going to need like storage stuff, like, you know, like my favourite things, my sort of like antique things I suppose you could say, like things like I've got for example I've got a couple of Pokemon comics that are signed, so that, you know, they'll be better off to be like at my nan's, sort of like even just for now, and like all my diaries maybe could go there as well. Anything that I can't do anything with, you know, like definitely for the next few months I'll like give to my nan sort of thing. Maybe some kitchen stuff, maybe I'll have a little kitchen clean out soon and just give her loads of stuff to look after for when we move into the new unit when it's here. Anyway, with all that out of the way, I'm going to go through my little list of books. So basically I went through all of the 45 books that I read during the year of 2020 and I picked out all of my 5-star read books, and I'm going to sort of like try and rank them to you as best as I can from 12 to 1, and then obviously the last 3 being my favourite 3 of 2020. Coming in at number 12, I have A Love Life in the list by Casey West. This book is probably my least favourite Casey West book, even though I do rate it 5-star. It's like a low 5-star in a way. It's sort of like only just sort of like scrape that 5-star because I just love Casey West's writing. There were like a couple of things that sort of like irked me in the book just about the main guy character, Cooper, but you know, and just some other things, but like yeah. So this book is about a girl called Abby, and she aspires to be an artist. She has created a list of things to do, and so she wants to go through them, like for example about like facing a fear and like helping out a stranger, falling in love, you know, those sort of things, like real big things, because basically she's sort of like told that her artwork like lacks emotion. So she sets up this list of like things that she can do in order to create some emotion and to help her artwork. Nutmeg has come to say hi. Hello. Hello. Say hi, Nutmeg. Are you come to say hi? Hello. What I liked about this book was that there is the list element to it. I really like when people have lists of things to do, and in order to like change themselves as well, you know, for the better. Like I really liked following Abby along with this list, and yeah, that's why this book made the top 12. Coming in at number 11, I have Pretty Funny by Rebecca Elliott. Now this book I did receive for review and it was actually really funny. Like, it's the truth about this girl called Hayla, and she aspires to be a female comedian, and it's literally like her going on her path for that, doing a bit of like stand-up comedy, and she sort of like falls in love with Leo, who is a person of colour, and it just is about her falling in love with herself mostly. She has a cute little brother called Noah, and he is like probably the best character of the book. So if anything, you should read the book because of No Other Brother. But yeah, it was so funny. Like, it's funny. Like, Hader's really funny. Noah is absolutely funny. It's hilarious. You will find yourself laughing at this book so much. If you really want a good contemporary that's going to make you laugh out loud, this is one of those books. I was laughing out loud so much at this book. It did make me feel really good, and that is why this book made my top books of the year. And it's a really good book about finding yourself and falling in love with yourself as well at the same time, and, you know, discovering what you love and enjoy and aspire to, and about going for that goal. Yeah, it's a brilliant, positive book. So funny though. Coming in at number 10, we have The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Now, this book is no stranger to the world of booktube. Near enough everybody has read this book. Your uncle, your aunt, your mum, your dad. If not, they will soon. But this is a Black Lives Matter sort of book. It's about this girl called Star, and one day she is out with her friend and they're at a petrol station and he gets shot by a police officer. So really, it's the story of, like, the trials of that, what it can do to your family, what it can do to yourself. It's about speaking out. It's a real sort of like yes to Black Lives Matter, and yeah, it's just, it shows like police brutality in, you know, everyday life sort of thing. So yeah, it was Goodreads Choice winner of 2017, and I only just read it in 2020, but such a good book. It did pack a punch and it was really emotional, so, you know, trigger warnings for like shootings and, you know, like drugs as well. But yeah, it was such a good book. It definitely is one of those books that will make you think. Coming in at number 9, we have Wither by Lauren DeStefano. This is a book that I owned since my first year on BookTube in 2013, and I can't believe it's taken so long for me to read it. I really enjoyed the first book in the series. It's a dystopian novel that is about this man who kidnaps females, and like in order to sort of like reproduce basically. So Ryan is selected along with like 2 other females. They're kidnapped. They're in this place. They're married to this guy then called Lyndon. It's a very like strange situation. Lyndon falls in love with Ryan, but Ryan is like Ryan sort of likes somebody else, like within, like she falls for somebody else that is in the actual like building that she's in. So really she is desperately trying to communicate with her twin brother who, you know, isn't there. They got separated. So she really wants to escape in order to find her twin brother. So it literally is about like surviving in this building as well as trying to escape. Like I say, it's strange, but like in a good way. Like it's strange, but you're like carrying on reading it. So yeah, it's just a crazy book. But I really liked going on with Ryan, how she was like finding things out, figuring things out, and like how she was like learning to escape and everything, and learning her story, and I just really enjoyed it in general. Coming in at number 8, we have Confess by Colleen Hoover. This was a Goodreads Choice winner of 2015. This was also my top 20 books to read in 2020, and I finally got around to reading it, cutting another Colleen Hoover book off of my list. So this story is about Auburn, who really wants to rebuild her life. She's had a really sort of like rubbish life. She walks into an art studio and she just really wants to like do her art. She wants to rebuild her art life and go on from there. She falls for a guy called Owen Gentry, but then she discovers that he does have a sort of like dark secret, and it's just literally about that. Now, I like Colleen Hoover's books. I love her writing. I really liked finding everything about Auburn and her past, and then even finding out about Owen and just how they were connected but didn't realise it. Like how we didn't realise it as well. Like that they are somehow connected, and then you literally find out at the end. Like, and then you're like, oh my goodness, like, what? What was that? Yeah, it's one of those really, really good books. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean, if you like your art, it's got the art in it, obviously romance with it, and, you know, secrets, and just sort of like showing that not everybody is perfect, and just to also show that you can rebuild your life somehow. Coming in at number 7, we have Emmy and Oliver by Robin Benway. I really, really enjoyed this book. I owned this for like a few years as well. So this is a story of Oliver, who is best friends with Emmy, and then one day, like when they're quite young, he is kidnapped by one of his parents, and he's never like returned. And then it's literally like something like 10 years later, I think, Oliver just returns, and he returns to live with his other parent, and he is a different person. Like, you know, his whole physique has changed, like he has changed. He's very sort of like keeps to himself. And obviously Emmy's like, but you're my best friend, like all those years ago, like what happened to you? And she's trying to rekindle the friendship and everything, and so, like the things that were said like before he left, and then obviously discovering like how on earth it happened, and, you know, how can he get kidnapped by another parent? You know, to me that's like, wow, this is an interesting book already. So yeah, and it was like, and just learning about all of that, like what happened in all those years that he disappeared and everything, like it was a really interesting book. And of course, like it really, really shows how much Emmy and Oliver like gel so well together, like as friends. Like it was a really, really good book, and I really enjoyed it, and I totally recommend it for anybody. Coming in at my number 6 slot, I have Shaman King, Omnibus number 1 by Hiroyuki Takai, I think it's pronounced. So basically, Shaman King, right, it's an anime and it's also a manga. However, it's returned this time, like this year especially, it got released that it's a remastered one, and it has like, you know, different cover art, has you know, extra content. I'm a massive fan of Shaman King. It's one of my favourite animes. I watched it as a child, absolutely loved it, so of course when this book was released I had to read it. Now luckily, because I'm a member of Amazon Prime, I could also get some of the graphic novels as part of the Prime like reading, so I was able to read this for free, which is really good. And I really, really enjoyed it. I love it. Like I was also watching the episodes alongside it as to, like, you know, what was in it, what was not. Very slight changes, I must admit, but it was a really, really good experience to like read the graphic novel, like of what the first episode would contain, and then watch the episode of that, and then read the graphic novel of like the next episode, and then, you know, so on and so forth. So I believe it had like 3, I think, in there, like 3 episodes worth. But yeah, it was really fun to just watch and read at the same time, and just, it's my childhood anime, you know, so like reading it again and like laughing at just the characters and just, you know, learning about the characters. So the storyline of Shaman King is we have a boy called Yo Asakura, and he is a shaman, so he's able to see ghosts, and he basically has a ability where he can absorb a spirit and become one with them. So really, during like the first episode, we literally meet this ghost of this great warrior. And so like Yo just goes around, he's so laid back, he's just like, oh yeah, you know what. And then the warrior's like, I will be your guardian, you know. And thus begins the journey of Yo Asakura trying to become a Shaman King. That is like his ultimate goal, to be like the ultimate Shaman King. So yeah, it's such a brilliant story. I totally recommend it if you really like your graphic novels and everything. It's it's just really good. Like it's hilarious. You know, you got ghosts in it, shamans in it, and like mystery and intrigue. It's a really, really good graphic novel. Now we are finally in my top 5 favourite books. This was actually quite difficult to fit the like 5, 4, 3 and 2, because like I have my number 1 slot, but like all the other books I liked them just as much as each other, so it was really, really hard. And then once I was really thinking about it, I changed it a couple of times, but I feel like I'm happy with these set of books. Fingers crossed. I mean, I've done it now, I'm not going to go back, but like, to be honest, like these 5 books, I just love them so much. So coming in at number 5, we have Heartstopper volume number 3 by Alice Oseman. So this originally is a webcomic that Alice Oseman released, and then people were like, oh my god, I wish I had a physical format, and then like Alice Oseman has released them as actual physical books that you can purchase, and I'm up to date so far. 3 is the latest one. This is a LGBT novel about Nick and Charlie. The first book is literally kind of like how they met, and like the other books are sort of like them accepting each other for who they are, and sort of like being together and stuff, and you know, like going on trips out and everything. This one was really fun because there was a school trip to Paris, and yeah, it's just literally about like being like open about who you are, you know, if you're gay, and just being open about it and not caring what people think. And Nick and Charlie are like the cutest couple ever, like the cutest. These books are just, they just ooze happiness. This was actually the Goodreads choice winner of 2020 for graphic novels, and rightly so. It totally deserves it, and it's just, it makes you happy when you read it, and that's why I would love to keep these books, just to reread them all over again. They're such easy reads, you could just read them within like one sitting. They're that like easy to read, but they fill you with like such a happy feeling, and that's why this book comes in at number 5 as like my top 5, because it was an adventure to read, and I recommend this graphic novel series so much. Coming in at number 4, we have Meet Me at Midnight by Jessica Pennington. Now, this book I read like earlier on in the year, and it's a love to hate relationship in a YA book based in the summer, and it's just really, really good. So basically Sydney and Asher have like pranked each other for years. Like every time they go to this sort of like summer house by the lake, they've always like done real big pranks to each other. You know, whether it's like switching salt for something else, switching your shampoo for something else. They've always done pranks on each other, and that's just been how they like communicate and how they work. Until one day one of the pranks goes really, really wrong, and then they find that the prank causes their families to be kicked out of the actual lake house, and then they have to like stay at the same place together. So of course there's friction, and then one of them leaves a note for the other one saying, meet me at midnight. And so what they have done is they have agreed to create a truce and team up. And what they will do is, with their joint prank, they are going to prank the person who chucked their families out. They have a common enemy, they're teaming up, and they're going to do that. So can it go wrong? Will they, like, I don't know, will they get closer? That's what you need to find out. But, you know, it's a love to hate. So they, you know, it's such a good book. You guys need to read it. And yes, it's based in the summer, but you can read it whenever. But it's just really fun. I just liked reading about their pranks and how they were pranking each other, and then when like the big prank goes wrong, you're like, oh my god. And then like when they sort of go to the actual like house that they're sharing, you're like, oh my god, they have to share now. Like you can feel the tension, like it's so good. And then when they team up, you're just like, oh, you know what, they actually, because they're such like pranksters themselves, they work so well together to create a big prank to get revenge. It's a real fun book, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Well, I hope you won't be disappointed, but yeah, this book, brilliant. My number 3 choice is By Your Side by Casey West. Of course, a Casey West book will have to be in this list twice. She is one of my favourite authors, and I'm slowly going through her books as well. So this is a story that is about a girl called Autumn, and one day she is locked in a library because she really needs to like quickly do something like before she goes off on a trip with her boyfriend and her friends. And then she discovers she gets locked in the library, and then she's like, what the hell? I can read some books to pass the time. And then she finds a poster that says it's not going to open for like another 3 days. And then she's like, oh my goodness, like I've got no food on me, I don't have like a phone charger, like my phone's gonna die, what am I going to do? And then she discovers she's not the only one in the library. We have a guy character called Dax Miller, and so he's like stranded with her there too. So they sort of like team up together to sort of like, you know, with their remaining snacks to be able to survive the next few days, and then you know, be able to escape. So it's about them getting to know each other. It starts off really like hate, and so yeah, it is another love to hate relationship. But then you see like how they become friends, and then from friends they become to actually like liking each other. I really like those books where they just sort of start off like, you know, I don't know who this person is, and then you get to know them, especially when you're like, oh, this person is like that person that's in the shadows, like nobody knows anything about them, and then you discover that they are actually like a really decent person, genuine and everything, and yeah, and things like that. I just really like learning about characters and like how they become who they are, and especially if they're mysterious. So yeah, so I really enjoyed this book, and obviously it's based in a library, so how can you not like it as well? So it's based around books, but yeah, it's really good. Love to hate relationship, contemporary. Thank you again, Casey West. We are at the final 2 now, and my number 2 choice is Chasing Lucky by Jen Bennett. This is a brilliant book, again, like with like photography in it. I don't know, I didn't like intentionally pick books of like art or like photography in, but yet this is like the 3rd one now. Like 2 of them had art, and now we got one with photography. So unintentional, but it's a story that is about Josie St. Martin. She's a budding photographer, and she lives with her single mum, and they have gone around and they literally have moved from like city to city and never really settled. And she used to have like a friend called Lucky, and then she sort of like one day moved, and then they never really ever said goodbye. And now she has moved back to this town where Lucky is, and Lucky sort of like, you know, is very wary of Josie and is like, what on earth was that goodbye that you gave me? And so he's like a little bit like kind of mean to her. But then one day they are sort of like together, and a rock or stone is thrown at like this shop, and the glass shatters. But then Lucky takes the blame over Josie because Lucky has the reputation, so he's more likely. And all of a sudden Josie's like, why would you take the fall for me? And then thus begins this friendship between them. How they can sort of like, I mean, very similar in a way to Emmy and Oliver, like with the sort of like, they used to be friends when they were young, and then one moved away and then they moved back, and things are a bit different, things are a bit off. It's like, can they get their friendship back from when they were younger, all those years ago? Or, you know, like, can something else happen as well? But yes, really brilliantly written. It's so fun, and it's just nice to like get to know more about Josie and more about Lucky, and that, you know, he's looked down upon as like this really sort of like person who does bad stuff, but actually like he's quite a decent human being. So, you know, it's just about those two, like can they gel that friendship back together again. And yeah, it's a beautiful story just of friendship, really. Definitely. And the same with Emily and Oliver, like just the friendship, like just proves that, you know, even if you're away for a few years and come back, you know, if your friendship is really that strong, then it's worth it. So yeah, and it's like one of those awesome books. Yeah, definitely recommend it. You guys should give it a read. It's like a really sweet contemporary, and I hope you guys enjoy it. My number one favourite book of the year, I'm very, very excited to reveal, is actually one of the last books that I finished during the year of 2020, and it was a book that got me out of a reading slump, but it was a book that I could not put down, and if I had to put it down for things like work, I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, I just want to read that book. And when I was reading it, I was reading it, I was addicted. Such a good book, and I've owned it for so many years, and I'm ashamed I didn't go around to reading it, but what a bang to have this book finish as the top book of the year. And the book is Too Late by Colleen Hoover. So this was actually a book that was released chapter by chapter on Wattpad by Colleen Hoover, until people were like, oh, I just want a physical copy of it. And then it was self-published and released as a physical copy. I believe it's on Kindle Unlimited at the moment. I'm not entirely sure. I know it was in December, but I purchased the paperback of it, and yeah, you don't think much of it when it's like a self-published book, but boy does this book pack a punch. And might I say, like, trigger warnings for things like, you know, rape and drugs and alcohol and like kidnapping in a way, and yeah, it's just a murder as well. Like, it's quite a dark contemporary book, but I'm just so like intrigued. So basically we have a female called Sloane, and she lives in an apartment with her boyfriend called Asa. But Asa's very overprotective. She's only really living with him because he helps to pay for her autistic brother's ability to stay in a care home. But the trouble is, the money that he uses to pay for it is made by drugs, so he sells drugs. She ran away once, but then found that she really needed the money. She had nowhere else to go, so she went back. He took her back in, but then he started having more and more people like go around there with drugs and selling drugs and everything. She doesn't like it at all, but she has to put up with it. She has to put up with Asa like just suddenly like sleeping with her, like she could be asleep and he would be like having sex with her, sort of thing. So she has to really put up with a lot. And then one day she's in a college class and she meets this guy called Carter, and all three of these characters have their own point of view: Carter, Asa and Sloane. And Carter, when it's his point of view, he like literally is just like, oh, Carter's not my real name, like I'm on an investigation. And then you're like, what? Like, what? And I won't say anything more, like, because that's literally within like the first couple of chapters, like of you know, it's the first instant when you meet Carter. And then Sloane goes home, and next minute like Asa stood next to Carter, and Asa's like, this is my new business partner. And Sloane's like, what the fuck? Like, I thought like I was meeting quite a nice guy in my college class, and turns out you also sell drugs as well. So yeah, then Carter, just, he's such a mysterious character, and he's got like a friend as well that's that he's also like in terms with, I suppose I'll say, like, you know, in contact with, like maybe they could be like doing something together, like investigating together. Like, that's what I'm going to hint at that. But yeah, he's got a little partner, and yeah, that's all I can really say. But what the investigation is, who they really are, what their names really are, you know, will they ever like reveal themselves, will they ever like discover things, just when you think one thing has happened, something else happens though. Like, you're literally just like, oh my god, did that actually just happen? Oh my god, did he actually just do that? And then something else happens, and then something really clever just happens, and you're just like, can anything else possibly happen, like, in this book? Like, and it does all the way through until the end. So many things, like, things get revealed, secrets get revealed, and then, like, sneaking around and just sort of like, oh, just feeling all that tension. And oh, it's such a good book. Such a good book. Definitely deserves like the #1 spot, because it had me thinking about the book like all the time. I wanted to know what was going to happen next. I wanted to know what was going to happen to the end of the book. I wanted to know what was going to happen to the characters. I wanted to know if there was going to be an end, because it just felt like it was just like, oh my god, like something's just happened, which to me is quite big, but then something tops it even more, and then you're like, what is going on in this book? It's a really good, entertaining book. But yeah, quite a dark contemporary, but boy is it a roller coaster of emotions. Like, you're angry, and the fact that Colleen Hoover is just so brilliant that she can get you to feel anger and annoyed at a character, like, it's quite some talent, because it's intentional. But yeah, I really like enjoyed that part of it. But yeah, it's such a good book. I try to recommend it. I don't really hear a lot of people talking about it on BookTube, but you know, if you want to dive into a Colleen Hoover book, this is one that I recommend. And I recommended it to Barbara, and she said that she just couldn't put it down as well. So I think just because it's so mysterious, you're just like, oh my goodness, like, this is crazy. So yeah, it's really cheap on the Kindle, or it's on Kindle Unlimited. And you know, if you really want the physical book, I definitely recommend you getting it, because what a book. Like, such a good book for Colleen Hoover to write, that she like self-published in the end, like by releasing chapters on her Wattpad, and then people loving it so much that she had to release it. Like, it's brilliant. Such a good book. I can't really say anything else because I don't want to spoil too much, but just know it was an awesome book. But that is the end of my top 12 books of 2020. The list, man, the list. Just going through it and being like, oh, what's my 12? What's my 8? What's my 5? It's quite difficult. But I knew my #1 slot. Like, as soon as I read the book, I was like, this is definitely my #1 slot for the year. Just to have a book do that to you. Oh man. But like, all the other books are still really good. Like I said, like my top 5, or you know, like, well, just all of them. I really enjoyed them all. They were all 5-star reads. But these were the 12 that I picked out of the books that I read. Hopefully in 2021 I can like read more really good books, but you know, time will tell. Time will tell. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please do give me a thumbs up if you have it. Again, I apologise for not looking or sounding great. I'm just under the weather at the moment. Hopefully I'll get better. All of my social media links are linked down below in the description if you would like to follow me elsewhere. Twitter, Goodreads, Instagram, I am there, let's be friends. But thank you very much for watching my videos always. I love you all to pieces. Keep smiling, keep reading, and be happy, and a happy new year. And I will see all of you wonderful, awesome people in my next video. Bye!